There are many heroes and superheroes in the cinematic world, but being one of the most lovable characters is something different. And RDJ, our very own Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, has experienced that love and fame in his career. Well, it's not always been a happy ride, as Robert Downey Jr. faced many ups and downs in his life, like a roller coaster. But yes, RDJ has lived every phase and learned a lot from his mistakes, and become this man, and a man loved and admired by everyone. In today's video, we're going to look into the life of our favorite superhero, Iron Man, or the beloved actor, Robert Downey Jr.
I am Iron Man.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Luxury and Successfull, the most versatile channel where we drive you through business and science and many more informative things. Hit the like and subscribe button to be a part of the family, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss an update. With that being said, let's jump right in. Robert Downey Jr. was born on April 4th, 1965 in Manhattan, New York. He's the son of writer, director, and filmographer Robert Downey Sr. and actress Elsie Downey. Robert's father is of half Lithuanian Jewish, 1/4 Hungarian Jewish, and 1/4 Irish descent, while Robert's mother was of English, Scottish, German, and Swiss German ancestry. Robert and his sister Alison Downey were immersed in film and the performing arts from a very young age, leading Downey Jr. to study at the Stage Door Manor Performing Arts Training Center in upstate New York before moving to California with his father following his parents' 1978 divorce. In 1982, he dropped out of Santa Monica High School to pursue acting full-time. Downey Sr. himself a drug addict, and he exposed his son to drugs at a very early age. And Downey Jr. would go on to struggle with abuse for decades. The cult filmmaker Downey Sr. had a substance use disorder, and he allowed his son to try marijuana at the age of 6. According to a 1996 People's article, drug facilitated an emotional bond between father and son. This apparently led to Downey becoming a daily drinker. Despite being an active drug and alcohol addict, Downey Jr. made a name for himself as a young actor in the mid to late 80s. After a season in the cast of Saturday Night Live, he scored film roles in movies including John Hughes' Weird Science, and he co-starred opposite Molly Ringwald in The Pickup Artist in 1987. In the same year, Downey also gave a memorable performance in the film adaptation of the Bret Easton Ellis novel Less Than Zero, playing a rich kid whose life went off the rails amidst a serious heroin addiction. Downey's off-screen life would soon uncannily resemble that role. Well, talking about his film debut, Downey Jr. made his debut as an actor at the age of 5 in the film Pound in 1970, written and directed by his father, Robert Downey Sr. He built his film collection throughout the 1980s and 1990s with roles in Tough Turf, that's 1985, Weird Science, 1985, True Believer, 1989, and Wonder Boys in 2000, among many others. In 1992, Downey received an Academy Award nomination and won the BAFTA, the British Academy Award, for Best Actor for his performance in the title role of Chaplin, 1992. In Robert Altman's Shortcuts, 1993, Downey appeared as an aspiring film makeup artist whose best friend commits murder. In Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers in 1994, with Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis, Downey starred as a tabloid TV journalist who exploits a murderous couple's killing spree to boost his ratings. For the comedy genre, Hearts and Souls in 1993, Downey starred as a young man with a special relationship with 4 ghosts. In 1995, Downey starred in Restoration. In 1995, with Hugh Grant, Meg Ryan, Ian McKellen, directed by Michael Hoffman. After that year, he starred in Richard III, 1995, in which he appeared opposite his Restoration, that's 1995 co-star, McKellen. In 2000, Downey co-starred with Michael Douglas and Tobey Maguire in Wonder Boys 2000, directed by Curtis Hanson. In this dramatic comedy, Downey played the role of a bisexual literary agent. Well, he continued starring in films even as he struggled with alcohol and drug use, and it began to take a hold of his life off the set. He was able to stay sober while working on a film for a period of time, but would soon fall off the wagon and began using again, going on days-long benders. By 1995, he was smoking heroin and freebasing cocaine, leading to several arrests and stints in rehab facilities. In the summer of 1996, within the span of just a few days, Downey Jr. was arrested multiple times for bizarre and reckless drug-fueled behavior. This included one incident when police stopped him for speeding and found him not only intoxicated, but with heroin and cocaine on him, and an unloaded .356 Magnum in his passenger seat. Soon after, he was picked up by the police again when he wandered into a neighbor's home and passed out in their son's bedroom. This was the beginning of Downey Jr.'s downward spiral. For the next few years, Downey Jr. cycled in and out of rehab for addiction in state institutions throughout California. In 1999, he was sentenced to 36 months in state prison, where he spent 12 months serving time before being paroled. He was arrested 2 more times within 8 months before being sent to rehab for 6 months at Wavelengths International, one of many court-mandated addiction treatment centers he visited over the years. For Downey Jr., this period of his life was what he calls his rock bottom, when he reached his lowest point of addiction and lost everything. His wife left him and took their son. He was fired from his acting job on the show Ally McBeal. He was in massive debt and on the verge of bankruptcy. It was then that he decided it was time to take a year and fully address his substance abuse. It was time for recovery. In 2002, Robert Downey Jr. was making a comeback after his time in rehab and jumped back into his acting career with roles in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and the box office hit Zodiac. However, it was when he began his romance with film producer Susan Levin while working on the film Gothica in 2003 that he fully committed to his recovery. They got married in 2005 and now have 2 children together. His commitment to recovery from addiction and regenerating his acting career led him to the greatest success yet. He kicked off the MCU in 2008 with Iron Man, making way for the Infinity Saga and structuring Marvel Studios as one of Hollywood's most successful banners. He played the character Iron Man for almost 10 years. Iron Man eventually laid down his life to bring back half of humanity and decimate the Mad Titan Thanos and his army by snapping his finger in Endgame. Robert Downey Jr. said that was the greatest joy, being able to experience the MCU by playing that character. Talking about the studio's success, he stated that it was all there in the universe to begin with. He thinks it's why the Marvel comics have been so numinous to kids, grown-ups, and people in general. The actor mentioned that there is this love for MCU because it speaks to the world, and it also speaks to the democratic American projected dream, which is far more complicated than the movies. He asserted that there's an idea for people who have always been trying to express themselves, and strangely, in some ways, the best of it has been expressed in these little 2-hour segments of the entertainment. RDJ admitted that Star Wars laid the foundation, but Marvel's film stretches longer over the decade. Today, Robert Downey Jr. enjoys a relatively quiet life, trading wild nights out and weekend-long drug binges for nights in and weekends spent with his family in their Malibu home. The 54-year-old credits his relationship with his wife Susan, his children, Eastern martial arts, yoga, and the 12-step program for helping him overcome his addiction and stay sober. Of course, his career also keeps him busy and focused. His latest film, Doolittle, came out earlier this year. He and his wife also worked at the film production company they founded together, Team Downey. In an interview, RDJ stated that he hates to say it, but it's a very American thing to build up and break down and come back. He noted that in its own weird way, it is the hero's journey. The actor mentioned that he could relate to Tony Stark a lot by the time he played him. He explained that he was a guy who needed to really be handed a dose of ouch, referring to the hardship he faced to become the legend. Well, not everyone has such a cinematic, charismatic, and widely publicized journey to recovery as Robert Downey Jr. Only a few people have the ability to overcome addiction and live a sober, fulfilling life in recovery. Hence, this brings us to the end of our video, but we will come back with some new and interesting videos in the future. Till then, you make sure that you like our video and do share your views and opinions with us in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel to get videos from us regularly, and also do not forget to hit the bell icon to never miss an update. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one soon, and until then, peace.